Hello, this is Jamie McNichol from Southern Truth coming to you live from Adelaide, Australia on the Resistant channels on YouTube. Happy New Year. Welcome to everyone. I hope you had a great New Year and I hope that you make the best of this year the best you can for yourself. The title of this episode, New Year, same results, and we're going to talk about why is that. And talk about what's currently going on here in Australia and whatnot. There's new outbreaks of cases in New South Wales and in Victoria of this COVID. And basically now in New South Wales, the Premier, in America, you call them governors, it's the same leadership. They've implemented a mandatory mask wearing, and basically, if you refuse to wear a mask, now in New South Wales, on the spot fine is $200. You can't make this shit up. Also, they're trying to make it mandatory again back in Victoria. Now, can we go back to what happened in Victoria? They were in a strict lockdown for 4 to 5 months due to an outbreak in hotel quarantine. And basically now we're in the summer, just started the new year. New cases have came back into Victoria and everyone's in panic mode. People are calling for a strict lockdown again and blah, blah, blah. I asked a question on my personal Facebook wall. Compare the numbers of how many people have actually died worldwide due to COVID. Compare that to how many people lost their livelihoods, their jobs, their house, even suicide due to COVID. I mentioned before, COVID, the virus itself, has not impacted my life personally, but the ramifications behind it, like the lockdowns and the restrictions and the mandates, that has personally impacted my life. I couldn't see my family because it's in another state, the borders are shut, and so forth, so forth. So the virus itself hasn't really impacted. No one in my family that I know of had the virus, but many people that I have known, they've lost their livelihoods, means they've lost their jobs, they've lost their mortgage. I've known many, many people in that same category. So when you look at the pandemic as a whole globally, not country by country, globally, the numbers do not add up compared to the death rate, compared to how many people lost their jobs, livelihoods, mortgage, suicide, you name it. So what is the game plan involved in all this? Now, I'm going to screen share the question that I put out on Facebook, and I'm going to read some of the comments that people have put underneath that statement. It's going to be absolutely hilarious to read them out. So I'm going to screen share this, and you'll see the freaking lunacy that comes with it. All right, here we go. I won't read that. We'll read this. Here's the question. Here's a real question for you dumbasses out there. How many people have died from COVID compared to how many people have lost their jobs, livelihood, etc. around the world due to lockdowns, etc.? Oh, wait. There's 16 comments. Let's read them all out, shall we? We'll go down. I like Brian's comment. How many people have recovered and yet we have little or nothing about it? We haven't heard anything about it. Correct. My comment. How many have committed suicide? My friend in Melbourne, Brooke, I've known her for many, many years, she questioned, How many people are about to starve to death? Good point. My question again, has the virus itself impacted you personally, or has the restrictions, lockdown, etc. have? Chris Carlisle, who's from Western Australia, he always has an argument with me. His question is, and what's my point? I'd rather be safe than sorry. What are your medical credentials? Here's my set. I stated before, I'm from a family with over 50 years of medical practice and research. They still work in this field as I listen to them, not what the government tells me. If you're afraid to get a virus, stay the fuck home. Simple. Well, he just responded about 1 minute ago. So if you were told to self-isolate by a politician for 14 days, would you rather risk it and get caught or spend 14 days in jail? The problem is people don't listen to medical. They'll all be all right. Just fuck everyone else. No. If you are not sick, you don't need to quarantine. You don't quarantine the sick. You don't quarantine the healthy. You only quarantine the sick. Why should you have to quarantine the whole fucking state because you've got only 8 cases in your fucking state? It does not make sense. You don't quarantine the healthy. I mentioned this before, and I'll go to that in a minute. This is the dickhead from Canada. He's named Dick Buttons. He quote, "What an ignorant statement." And I quote, "Thank you, but you still didn't answer the fucking question." So I'm ignorant, asking how many people have died compared to how many have lost their jobs and livelihoods. You keep drinking the Kool-Aid, fuckwit, because numbers don't add up. Many more people lost their jobs and livelihoods over lockdown than actual deaths, period. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Now, here's a question I mentioned last night. All right? Here's a question. This is for Australia people only, but people overseas that are currently watching, this is a question. As always, still, no one has answered my question last night. I will repeat the question. The government always goes on about the science for COVID when it comes to restrictions and lockdown. Then explain this to me, as you might be living hundreds of miles away from a COVID outbreak. Your area that you've been living have had no cases since the beginning of the pandemic. But because you live in the same state of the outbreak, you have been punished from not entering another state. Explain the logic behind this. No one has came forward to explain the reason why this is necessary. Period. I asked a question, no one wants to answer it. They all presume that people should be under lockdown. I don't care if people don't watch this live, but they're going to be watching the replay later. You've got to understand that people just so fed up with the bullshit, right? People saying, 2021 is going to be better than 2020. No, it's not. We're in day 2 of the new year and things still hasn't changed. Matter of fact, they're talking about locking down Australia by the 15th of January. By the 15th. And many people think this is okay. How can it be okay? Did you see what Victoria went through for 5 months of severe, strict lockdown? Many people lost their jobs. Many people lost their house, their livelihood. Hell, many more people fucking commit suicide. They have over 6 million people living in the state of Victoria. How many people died of COVID in that fucking lockdown? Well, over 800 people. Out of 6 million people, 800 people died. How many of those 6 million people lost their fucking job? There was a report that over 1.5 million people lost their job. 1.5 million out of 6 million. Yet they still reckon now, some of these numbskulls here in Australia think it still be reasonable to put us under full lockdown again. How can that be possible? As long as your job is not impacted, you're fucking okay. Well, what about freaking Joe Blow that lives around the corner that's been working for 40 fucking years in a factory, but yet he can't go to fucking work because the fucking restrictions lockdown deemed that his work is not fucking essential? How is he going to support his family and put food on the table and keep a roof over his head if you're going to put a lockdown in place? Do you really think this is okay? Many people say, Jamie, you're full of it. What's the credentials? I come from a family with over 50 years of medical research. I'd rather listen to them rather than listen to the government. Fuck the government. They're all in and on it together. It's a smoke screen. They should. Well, we're already seeing one governor in America got a fucking Emmy Award for COVID. How many more awards? You can make an Oscar about this. You really think this is okay? How can people think this is okay when you look at the celebrations for New Year? They had no one there to celebrate. You go down Sydney Harbour, it was black. No one fucking there. You go to fucking Times Square, they had what? People there from the first responders and shit and the Blasio and fucking, but no one from the community itself was at fucking Times Square. It's like saying a Joe Biden fucking rally for his presidential campaign. No one was there. On the new year, new me. Nothing's going to change. It's just going to get worse. Don't you get this, people? I don't want to keep repeating myself, but if you're not going to fucking fight against this bullshit, then you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. You're buying into this hook, line, and sinker. They've got you fucking. They've got you. They literally have got you by the fucking scruff of the fucking balls, the pussy, the breast, whatever they can grab hold of you, they've got you. But you think it's okay? How can you think this is okay? I don't care no one's watched this live, but they'll be watching it on the replay. I don't care. Right? Many people think that, just because Jamie talking about fucking Australia, we shouldn't listen to him. Well, fuck you. It's happening globally. Do you want yourself to be under lockdown? Do you want this pandemic to keep going and people fucking complying and make you the fucking shithole that you are? Oh, we got to be positive. Well, how can you be fucking positive when everything that you own is fading away, it's slipping away by your fingertips? How can you be positive? People should be pissed off about it, and rightly so. No one has a right to fucking interfere with your life, period. Government, foreign officials, fucking no one. If you're afraid to get a disease or a virus, stay the fuck home. Plain and simple. Let the healthy people continue to do their daily things. But if you want to sit back and, but it's a COVID, well, fuck you. Right? I really don't care if YouTube bans this video. It just goes to show that I'm speaking the truth. Right? Many other people have been banned off YouTube. They have their channel shut down, speaking out the truth. Right? And all of you guys just rather say, you know, all these other shit that's on fucking TV. Right? If you want to play Russian roulette, play fucking Russian roulette. I don't care. Like, you're not impacting my life. Like I said before, COVID, the virus, has not impacted me, but the restrictions and the ramifications of lockdowns and all that has. You can't really roam around freely and do things that you normally would do prior to the pandemic as you will now. Right? My favorite band, Kiss, just played in Dubai, and, you know, saying that was just a crock of shit. Right? It really was. But people love the band, and there's nothing they can do or say is wrong. Fuck. I had a different opinion of Kiss after I saw them in 2013. I said there's nothing more they can fucking do to me. They've done it all for me. There's nothing can do it. Right? It was when they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's when I said, okay, it's over for me. I still listen to their music, but I'm not as massive as I was before. Right? 2020 showed me a lot of character of different people. And most of those people should be disappointed within themselves. Right? Especially when it comes to the music business. I didn't listen to their music just to hear fucking politics. I listened to their music because it had a certain message of sex, drugs, rock and roll, having a good time, you know, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care about fucking politics. I really can't. What I cared about was the corruption of politics, but I wasn't favoring either fucking left or right or in between. So they're all playing on the same playing field. Right? I'd rather sit back, have a couple of drinks, listen to music and whatnot, and don't have a fucking care of the world what the fucking politics say. But now it came to the point that everything's been turned on its head, that you have to focus on what your country's going to do and what your state leaders are going to do. Because once it's all fucked up, you've got to be able to survive. And this is a battle of survival. Only the strong will survive in this. I've said this many times. And some of the other guests that's been on this show have been on. But, you know, people say, but Australia gave up their guns back in 96. Well, I can tell you the true story behind that. 90% of Australia didn't fucking own guns back then. So what did we really give away? We really didn't give up anything. If we didn't own a gun back then, well, what do we really give away? I truly believe on this standpoint, if it's going to make it harder for people with a freaking criminal record, especially when it comes to assault charges and domestic violence and that, yeah, make it harder for them to get a gun. That's what it should be. Don't let the criminals get a fucking gun. Let the lawful citizens own a fucking gun. But that's not the way society is at the moment. You've got to walk as the slowest person right now. And then this year is just going to be fucking chaos just like it was last year, even more. You don't have to believe me, just have a fucking look out your window. Right? Sometimes I feel like sometimes I don't need to come on to fucking do a show on this because no one pays attention anyway. Go ahead. I'm still going to do fucking shows where you listen to it, watch it, whatever. It's no skin off my nose. I'm not here to be fucking popular. Right? I'm here to be a fucking arsehole. I'm here to be a cunt. That's my job. Speak the fucking truth. I don't want your fucking self-pity fucking support. I don't want that. I don't want people who come out of the woodworks and claim themselves to be a victim. I don't want that. I want people to come here and fucking rally together and just say, there is a problem, but we need to find a solution to how to fix it. There is an underlying issue. Question is the problem just too big to fix? That could be a possibility. Is it now the time where we just fucking put our hands up and say, fuck this? I don't want people to surrender, but the people are surrendering. They say, all right, you fucking win. Right, there's nothing else I can fucking do anymore. All right, I'll do what you say and bow down to the fucking crony and dictatorship. There are people out there right now that are doing that. But are we going to see more of it now? That people are going to willing to surrender because their backs are so far up against the wall they can't really do anything? That's what it's going to take, I think. They're going to push you further and further to the brink of committing surrender to them. But there are many other people that will not surrender at all. But if many people want to do this, they can do this. I'm only going to be on here for half an hour because people just don't get it. They seriously do not get it. I ask the questions. People refuse to answer it. They think that it's okay to put into lockdown. Keep it all locked up. You know, if you keep things locked up, the society won't be able to move freely. The economic system will not be able to flow freely. You suppress it and you make it become broke. It becomes a broken system. And don't fucking think that you can live off food stamps. If they're not getting any donations because people not working, how are they going to get the food? You know what? People should learn how to hunt for food or grow vegetables in their back garden, because that's what it's going to come down to. When they shut down everything and it makes it harder for the people to survive, you've got to survive. Learn how to survive. You've got to learn how to hunt. You've got to learn how to grow vegetables. More importantly, not only do you know how to look after your family, but you've got to mainly look after yourself. If you don't know how to do that, well, you're gone. Right? Once they become a cashless society, what are you going to do? This is not a debate whether you should get vaccinated or not, but I know for myself, not getting vaccinated. That's not a debate whether you should or not. That's your choice. That's your personal. It's not a choice of debate whether you wear a mask or not wear a mask, but I choose not to wear a mask because it doesn't work. That's just for me. If you feel protected wearing a mask, well, feel fucking protected. But don't fucking force it on me. That's just my prerogative on things. Right? I should be able to think, do, and live the way I want to live. Not any way anybody else decides for me how I should live my life. Right? But it goes back to my previous question. if you live hundreds of miles away from a case of COVID, and in your area that you live in had no cases since the pandemic, then why should you be punished for go across the border to see another state? Why? Oh, it's because of the science. Science! They shut down fucking Times Square for New Year's Day due to COVID. What had Times Square got to do with fucking COVID? It's a public place. They shut down fucking Sydney Harbour here in Sydney. And Adelaide, they've shut down Adelaide City for fireworks, for COVID. What has that got to do with COVID? It's a public place. What has anything to do with COVID if it's a public place? That you can't mingle with people or not? What that got to do with fucking COVID? You see what they're heading? People say, oh, Jamie, you got to obey what they say. No, it doesn't make sense. How many people died around the world due to COVID compared to how many people lost their jobs, their livelihood, their home, even fucking suicide due to this fucking COVID? I can guarantee you more people have lost their livelihoods and their jobs due to fucking COVID. But yet there's many people out there in the society think Australia should go back into another fucking lockdown because New South Wales and Victoria's got new fucking cases. How can they think this? Why? Because they work in a public servant job that fucking, no matter what happens, if there is a lockdown, they still have a job. What about those fucking people that will lose a fucking job, and they have, due to a lockdown? I'm sorry, I'm not going to finish in half an hour. I've got another. I'm on a rant now. I was going to keep it to 30 minutes, but now I'm going to keep it going. How is people thinking logically that if we get forced to put in a lockdown, which is on the brink again for Australia, the 15th of January is my prediction that Australia is going to be put under full lockdown again, and it's summer, not winter, summer. Right? How do people in Australia thinks that it will be okay to put us under full lockdown again only because you've got a little number of cases in a fucking suburb that can... It doesn't make fucking sense. It doesn't make sense. I really don't care if people watch this episode or watch it on replay. I don't care. Many people rather just sit back and think, all right, we can have fucking drama talks on fucking YouTube and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm talking about life right now. Life. If COVID hasn't impacted you personally, I'm talking about the virus here. If it hasn't, what about the ramifications of restrictions, lockdowns, and all that? Has that impacted you? Do anyone that watches this program or anyone, do they know anyone that either had COVID or died with COVID or from COVID? But how many people do you know that have lost their jobs, their mortgage, their livelihoods due to the ramifications of fucking COVID? If you answer that question or ask that question to people in society, I can guarantee you many people will know more people that have lost their jobs due to lockdowns, lost fucking their mortgage due to lockdown. I can guarantee you that will be the answer. And I'm talking globally here. I'm not talking country by country. Globally, how many people have died from COVID compared to how many people have lost their jobs, their livelihood, their mortgage, so forth? It far outweighs. And I don't care if people don't watch this, but they will be watching it on the replay and putting their thumb down. Yay. Who gives a shit? I really don't give a fuck. I'm not here for your popularity. I'm not here for all that. I'm here to speak the truth. Why can't we ask questions? And more importantly, it makes me laugh. We ask a question, they refuse to answer it, and the only thing that they come back with, we need to remain in lockdown. Tell that to the people that lost their jobs the last time it was under lockdown. Many small businesses right now are still hanging on their fingernails. You think a next lockdown is going to be okay? They're not going to be able to survive another lockdown. Anyway, you watch it. Watch it. But stop drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. Catch you next time.